Welcome to the Justin Ng Show, where real entrepreneurs and investors reveal how they turn humble beginnings into high-impact ventures. From bold moves to capital raises, we unpack what it really takes to build and scale greatness. Let's go check it out. What happens when a healthcare leader stops guessing and starts building real systems? Today, we break down how leadership, operations, culture, and strategy can help healthcare practices grow without burning out. Welcome back to the Justin Ng Show. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Dan Neissany, healthcare leadership strategist, business consultant, and co-host of All Things LOCS Podcast. Dan, welcome to the show. Welcome everybody today to the Justin Young Show. I have an amazing guest, Dr. Dan Neissany. So let's start by asking me, how was your journey so far from like a doctor to being a amazing leadership coach? Like, how was your journey like so far, like from going from that and the transition that you went through?
Yeah, I think so. I have my doctorate in physical therapy, which, really the major thing with that is outside of just helping people, it's really getting a full understanding of actually how to connect with people. And
Connect with people.
yeah,
Okay,
I mean, and it's an aspect in healthcare that we often struggle with, and it's actually a big point of concern with a lot of patients in the sense of not being able to build any rapport with medical professionals like doctors and people like that. So it's having an understanding that in order to help people, you have to actually understand them and connect with them. And really, when I
Gotcha.
look at that skill and that ability, that
Mhm.
is really actually one of the most important things you need in a leadership standpoint, is to actually learn how to connect with people and how to
Mhm.
understand their perspectives. So from the standpoint of the journey itself, I'd say it's been very much easier now, but was a bigger struggle when I was younger, and I didn't fully quite understand that aspect.
Okay.
Um, and being able to connect with patients is one thing, but then having the understanding that that's what it actually takes to be a leader was a little bit harder for me to rationalize when I was just younger. And I was
Gotcha.
a little bit more, I'll call it as a little bit more selfish.
Mhm.
So it's, you pour a lot into the business, pour a lot into the patients. And then sometimes when you're young and you don't really know any better, you can sacrifice what you kind of pour into employees. So it's really when you stay focused on growth. And that's a big aspect of being a leader, is just knowing that there's always more that you can attain. There's more that you can learn, just like in medicine. That's why I take where I'm at now currently. I think a lot about what did I do then, and it's very transferable, because when you're a medical professional, the goal should be to improve yourself.
Yeah.
Not just say, well, this is what I learned 10 years ago and I still do the same thing now.
Yeah.
So for me, it was it made a lot of sense to kind of chart that same pathway, but that's definitely something a lot of people struggle with, is that we get to a point where it's just, I've maxed out on my growth, or I know as much as I either need to know or as much as I think I can know. So I think when I look at the aspect of being a really great clinician, and that was my goal when I was younger, was just to be the best clinician I can be to help patients, it's really made it actually a lot easier to apply those same principles to leadership. So there's definitely been challenges, but the more I reflect back on what made me really good as a clinician, it's been a lot easier to actually take that into leadership.
Gotcha. And when you mentioned challenges, what were the biggest challenges you had to face in order for you to make a transition?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge I would say is just the ability to actually connect with people.
Mhm.
So my natural personality is very introverted, and I'm very controlling. And my personality, I have like more of a dominant personality. So there's uh, my inclination is to just want to take control, want to get things done as fast as possible.
Okay. Nice.
Which it's good in in some instances when you're trying to get results, and you want to take action. It's like, I'm going to do it, but then I would sacrifice what maybe somebody else felt. Like, if you were an employee, I wouldn't take into consideration maybe your thoughts or your own emotions. I would let's just do it, and then I would have to
Okay.
kind of play some damage control, like, you know what, I didn't ask you what you thought, or so I'd have to go back. And so the challenge was really just like really connecting with employees, was my biggest thing, and I didn't really view it as that important, which in hindsight, like I like even as I'm saying, I'm like, how stupid was I that you don't have to connect with people? But I was just very results oriented. And when you're very results oriented, you're focused on one thing, which is just the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not worried about what you need to do to get there. Your goal is just to get there as fast as possible. So when I would see that happening at some point, and I'm wondering why employees maybe aren't growing, or a big challenge for me because of my personality was a lot of employees who should have never quit. They did quit,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my biggest thing, was just, why aren't people growing when they should be growing, and I'm putting energy into developing them and helping them, and then why are employees quitting? And the biggest challenge was just understanding that it was really due to my style of leadership.
Interesting.
So that was, for me, that was the biggest challenge. Like throughout my process, that was definitely the biggest challenge.
Wow. Okay, I kind of resonate with that too, because I like to get, when a test is given to me, I want to get it done immediately, and just so I can move on to other things. Like like you always have like critical tasks for the day. You want to get it done so that you can have other things you can concentrate on, and that's pretty interesting. So like and when during the exit interview, did they tell you like, okay, the reason why I'm leaving is because of this, and then you use it as a matrix?
I would say no, and it's only because I didn't actually even do exit interviews.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now I would do it, but I think back then, either I just never really thought about it, but I think the major thing at that point, I probably wouldn't have done it because I probably didn't even want to hear the feedback. Right? It's like, how many of us actually want to sit down and find out that I'm probably the reason that this person is quitting? And then in reality, it's going to take a lot of self-reflection, and then you actually have to do something with it. So I didn't do it because, quite frankly, back then I was just like, they don't want it. Like, they don't want to work as hard. They don't care as much. They're like, all right, not a big deal. We'll find somebody who does. And it just took certain things to occur for me to just realize, like, it actually was me that was causing these issues.
Understood. Yeah. Okay, so then was that like an aha moment for you then, that you're like, oh shit, I have to work on myself and be a better leader? And being a doctor yourself, is it kind of like a psychology of things? You have to switch, like a little switch in your mindset. You have to change this to be able to attract the right people to come in and build a culture in your company.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the most important thing in leadership, and honestly even in business, it's really the approach that we take. And nowadays, we call it mindset, right? And I don't think a lot of people like fully understand A, how important it is, and B, what does your mindset actually mean, right? So we see a lot of that on social media. It's like, you got to have the right mindset. It's like, what does that mean? What does that look like?
I think different people have different ideas.
Different interpretations, so to speak, of it. But in reality, the biggest aspect, though, is it is understanding human psychology, right? And that's a component of business that we often leave out. But when we don't take the time to fully understand ourselves, there's no way you will, and there's no way you can take the time to figure out other people, like what motivates them, how to tap into their strengths, how to understand their weaknesses, and how to put people in the best position to succeed. So even from the standpoint of having the right mindset and then being able to attract the right people, it's what kind of person, like what kind of person do I need to be that employees want to work with, right? Nobody really thinks about that. As a lot of us, like, even I was like I was on a call the other day with a business owner. It's like, what do I want to see from them? What are the values I want from the employees? But then it's like, what are the values that I'm demonstrating, right? So it's easy for me to say I want employees who are accountable and are energetic and have fun, and then I don't hold myself accountable, and I'm introverted and I hide in my office all day long. It's like, well, there's going to be a mismatch.
Right.
So the people that I attract, they're not going to stay very long. So we have to feel that when I'm putting out to employees, they feel it, and then it's going to be reciprocal back to me. So mindset's going to be really important, because it's just understanding, how do I have to present myself? And we talk a lot in business world now about emotional intelligence, just understanding our emotions. What do we express to other people? And then how do I understand them at a higher level so I can best utilize them, and really make sure that I understand now that I didn't know then, which is, if you're not employee focused, it's really actually the hardest thing to help grow your company. You can still make a lot of money, but you're always going to be limited because you're not actually focused on the people that are helping your company grow.
That's amazing. And that kind of like the mindset shift for you as well, right? From being a doctor and right now what you're doing as a leader and a coach, and doing that with Antonio. So that's amazing. Are you still practicing as a doctor then, right?
No, I mean, so I was practicing when I was living in New Jersey. I moved out to Las Vegas at the beginning of 2022, and at that point, I just didn't want to treat anymore. I really wasn't treating that much when I was still in New Jersey. I saw some patients here and there, but stopped treating just because realistically, it got easy for me. And I say that not as cockiness, but I spend a lot of time on educating myself, going to courses. So I got really simple. And for me, I like to have some challenge and I like growing and developing. So once I hit my plateau, so to speak, I just stopped treating, but then it also enabled me to spend more time coaching and training other providers and actually helping the company I was with more. And then once I moved out to Vegas, I didn't renew my license because I didn't want to have that as a fallback option.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's more like there was like stories I hear before, like the long time ago when the Europeans came, they just, this is the ship that's coming here. There's no ship going back because they let the ship go back.
Yeah.
And then
So I didn't want that hanging out in the background of like, all right, if you fail at what you're doing, you can always go back to treating patients. I was like, I didn't want to have that option, so I was like, I'm not going to renew my license and practice anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And what made you like move here and start going through that coaching? And is it more coaching for business owners right now, or more like for the healthcare providers that you're doing?
Yeah. So I mean, the reason I moved out of here was that aside from just hitting a plateau where I was working, so there was no more growth. I was kind of as high as I can get into the company, and I know for some people they say, well, making good money. I was honestly at that point making more money than I really ever thought I would make when I was younger. So I was making a lot of money. Was in a position where I had pretty much full independence, can kind of almost do whatever I want. Was like the third ranked highest person in the company. So most people would probably look at it and say that's good, right? It's like less stress, pretty easy. But then again, I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, if I'm already plateaued, like what do the next X amount of years look like? So I job got a lot easier. There's no more growth here. I'm like, what am I doing? So the job kind of plateaued. And then where we were living in like New Jersey, my wife, she hates the state, and I started not liking it as much. Like the state, like your environment. That's the thing that a lot of people I think don't take into account. Our environment is important, and it is a key part of our success. And so what I mean by that is you're living in an environment maybe where the weather is terrible, and most people are like, it's not a big deal. Weather does have an effect on us. Not being in an environment where we're growing has an effect on us. So as much as the job plateaued, it was just, I think our environment had run its course, and we needed a new environment to kind of shake things up a little bit.
Challenge,
yeah. So it's like you look at what's going on in life, and I find that the universe has a way of kind of guiding us along, and it's just really important for us to see and hear what's going on versus a lot of us, I think, just ignore it. And then it's, well, I never had the opportunity, or I didn't realize that maybe I could have done this that many years ago. So things started kind of happening that I think it's the universe telling me that we need to maybe do something different. So that's something different was just, let's change the environment and move, and then figuring out obviously where to go.
Why Vegas?
Yeah, why Vegas? I mean, we had taken a trip here and saw the other side of Vegas that a lot of people don't see, meaning away from the strip.
Yes.
So you see some of the things that are around in the valley in terms of the outdoors, the communities, and that alone was a really good reason. The weather's obviously amazing. The weather in New Jersey is horrible. So, my wife, she does get seasonal depression, and honestly, it's gotten to a point where it's 5-6 months straight of just cloudiness, and she was
in the winter.
She was struggling. Like, she was staying in bed till 8 a.m. She wasn't like getting up. So I was like, all right, something needs to change here. So the weather here is obviously way better. But then I looked at economic factors. Income taxes is, state taxes compared to New Jersey is a lot less.
Yeah.
And then just the business aspect of it, where I noticed a lot of conferences moving in, and a lot of things and events that would take place in LA started kind of moving into Las Vegas. So I kind of saw it as like a good opportunity to move somewhere where it was a growing environment. And so that's kind of what took us here. And then ultimately, from the standpoint of working with business owners and healthcare leaders and people that own medical practices, is realizing that where we're situated in New Jersey, we started as a very, very small organization, and we grew it very large. So we went from having about 6 employees making low 7 figures, which is still very good. And then over a few years, we grew it to about 150 employees, and we were making about like $36 million a year. So like we
Wow.
really multiplied the revenue by like 13 times. So it's being able to take that model and bring that to other healthcare practices and other business owners who are struggling with their own growth or just looking to optimize and make their business more efficient.
That's amazing. And so that's why from your background in healthcare, and you're just helping and focusing your niche of that healthcare to build, and like, are you looking and finding out from new doctors or new medical professionals and seeing how you can help them grow? Like how do you put yourself out there to be able to help and show?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is you have to be active, right? What do you mean by that? You have to be active on social media.
Gotcha.
So it's being able to interact with people who are on the platforms, so like LinkedIn. But then it's really, and this has been the area that I've been actually poor at, that we're getting better, which is you have to just still do like in person, go to events. Like you can't hide behind a computer. That's definitely was a little bit of a struggle for me, being a little more introverted. It's like, all right, like I don't actually enjoy going to networking events. My mindset has shifted around it now, because it's ultimately, if you're focused on getting an outcome and building a business, it's realizing that not going to events is not helping you grow your business, right?
Yeah.
So when you start looking at things a little bit differently versus before, like I hate it, I'm uncomfortable going to events, sometimes it's a little awkward for me, so let me not put myself there, versus now it's like I still feel that, but what is it enabling me to do? I can help people, I can grow my business. So you start looking at it differently, and then it helps me go. So it's really, you have to actually just meet people. There's a lot of beliefs that we all have as people, but there's a lot of beliefs that doctors have about consultants that you have to kind of help them break through. It's so a lot of doctors will say, well, you're not a medical doctor, so you can't understand me. And my partner Antonio, he's not in healthcare.
Yeah.
In his background. So some doctors will say, well, you're not in healthcare, so you don't understand me that way.
Gotcha.
So you gotta like really bust through a lot of those crappy beliefs that we all have, because those are the beliefs that limit us, right? So a lot of doctors want to say, well, the best way I can help myself is to kind of go to other doctors and we help each other out. But a lot of them are struggling. So why would you go to somebody who's in the same situation? It's like you're going through a divorce. It's like, let me get marriage advice from other people who are also being divorced and have never found how to be successful in a relationship. It's like, then why would you do that versus finding somebody who's been in a happy relationship for like 10, 15, 20 years? So that's really what it comes down to, like connecting with them and helping them just see what's available. And honestly, also helping people just know that it's very easy to complain about the stuff that we have no control over, meaning it's the economy or it's regulations, or in healthcare it's insurance. I'm getting screwed over, there's nothing I can do there. But then they miss the opportunity to focus on things that they can take control of. Have I improved my leadership? Have I created any kind of development or training amongst my employees to help them get better? Have I improved my systems and my operations? Am I focused on things that can actually increase revenue, or I can just, again, complain about how we're getting screwed over and do nothing about it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. And that's amazing that what you're doing too for this, the medical professionals and doctors. And shifting a little bit right now, like you guys already, you and Antonio, like building that business, and he also mentioned that you guys are having like a medical, like a building eventually for you guys could do your coaching and the leadership. How is that so far for the growth aspects? Like, how are you, like, because right now I'm also working on fundraising and capital raising for projects. Like, how are you guys doing that as well? Just to, are you guys bootstrapping, or are you guys raising funds, going out?
No, I mean, there's, I like, so the way we've started out, I think initially there's always like two schools of thought, right? It's like, get some money, utilize it as a way to help grow, or let's keep things very minimal on our expenses, or some people say keep it lean.
Yes.
Right? Because then, and I'm more inclined to kind of lean towards a little bit of hybrid. So you don't need to raise funds like starting out a business. Like that, definitely options in terms of business loans. We've utilized business lines of credit.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So it's like utilizing a business line of credit where it's a credit card, but you have maybe no interest for 6 or 12 months. So your payments are very low. And obviously the goal is, okay, invest that into the business so you can start making money to pay off.
Yeah.
Right? So there is that aspect. And then even with that, though, I'm like, all right, how much of that do we utilize while we're in this where we're phase of just trying to grow and get some clients, what have you? Because then it's also making sure that it's not, hey, we got money coming in now, but now it's just you're basically paying debt, right? And then after you get a certain amount of clients, and it's like that's cool, we paid off all our debt, but now we're still at zero revenue. So for me, and Antonio as well, that there's that aspect of just managing what we're spending, because then if you don't create that foundation when you're just starting out, you're never going to have it. So even when you're growing, you say, cool, we're making 6 figures now, and then we're making 7 figures. And then what you see a lot of business owners is, I'm making 7 figures, but I'm not actually making any money. Like, where the hell did it all go? Because they're spending it on shit that they don't need. So it's like and one of the things that it's ridiculous for business owners, like, look at my top line. That doesn't matter. And you see that in big businesses too, right? It's like, hey, we made $2 billion this year. It's like, but you lost 2.5. So like, what are we really focused on here?
Yeah.
Are you focused on like the ego number, or are you focused on the bottom line number that actually is, what am I taking home at the end of the year? So they'll make money, but they're not really making money. So that's why I'm like, if you don't create the foundation at the beginning of how do I save, how do I maybe pay myself when I start having some money come in, like pay myself first and then pay expenses after, versus pay expenses and then let's see what's left over from me. It's like doing it the reverse actually creates a model where you're now focused on what do we actually need to spend our money on versus what do we just kind of want to spend it on, but it's not going to really do much for us.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because I was in a school of thought as well from the real estate perspective, like, for people that go out and make an active income, it's like, there's a course or a book that tells you like how much percentage you take home, how much percentage you put back into the business, how much percentage you leave for taxes, and then then they just segregate everything so that they have a business that, like you say, right, you're still paying yourself and you're still using it for the business. And I've talked to some doctors as well, and they told me it's like, yeah, everything we make, we just ensuring that the employees are all paid first, and they're not getting anything at all. They're still working, but not making a profit, because everything goes back to the business, paying the employees and stuff. So that's pretty cool. At like and you're teaching and coaching them as well for that one. Maybe I can talk to her and see, maybe she'll reach out to you. So definitely, I can
it's like
do a recommendation.
You're getting into it's like you're getting into business for a reason, right? We all have our different rationales. Like, I want freedom, or I want more money, or I feel like I can do it better than working for somebody else.
Yeah.
But then inevitably what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs is you end up making less money than you were, and you end up putting in way more time and effort. So it's like, was this really worth it? Versus, like you said, it's like, well, I got all my staff and I want to take care of them. It's like, that's cool. Like, do you need all the staff? Which is not to say like start firing people, but when you just have the money coming in, you're like, I'll just hire more people because we think that's going to create more systems. Or if I hire more people, I'm going to be able to make more money. When it's like, do you really need to?
Okay.
That's the thing. We don't take a look at it close enough, or it's, I'm going to just invest all the money I make back into the company to help grow it. It's like, great. Like, again, you have a company that might be valued at a, that's like those companies, like, we lose a lot, but we make a lot. It's like, well, the valuation is great. It's like, that's phenomenal. But when are you selling the company? Because that's when the valuation matters. But if you're not selling the company for 5 or 10 years, then you're poor now.
Yeah.
Right. It's like having that apartment or whatever. And like in real estate, it's like, well, it's an apartment that's worth a lot of money. It's, well, what are you making from it now? It's nothing. It's like, then what does it matter? Like, unless you set yourself up that you can go 2 or 3 years with making nothing, then that's different. But I don't think most of us set ourselves up to make zero income for 2 or 3 years. And then I'll start cash flowing in 3 years once the company's doing well enough. It's like, you got to start those foundational principles now.
Yeah. Okay. I like that, actually, because you want to make sure that, because like it's in real estate investing, right? Like, if you bring people in as investors, like the LPs, you have to make them money as well. But also as a GP, you have to make money as well. So you have to make sure they have the principles already set up, and start small and you learn from there, right? And you build from there too. And I totally agree on that too. And I didn't think of it that way too. I always think in the long game. And then when I started talking to one of my mentors, they said, no, we still have to eat. We have to put food on the table.
Yes.
So exactly, you have to build that system. And that's pretty cool that we share the same things. And you mentioned that as well in one of your latest LinkedIn posts, that you said that there was a doctor that grew too much, and all of a sudden he's just not having it, and then he started going lean again, and then started a bit better.
Well, that was I was at at I think I know what you're talking about. It was a conference I was at, and that's again like he so the doctor's giving a speech and he's talking about how he grew his practice, but he's like, I had a business coach, and he wanted me to scale. And I think the coach's his phrase was, "If you don't scale, you fail," which is so stupid. But so the doctor's like, I wanted to keep it small, but the coach wanted me to grow it, so we grew it. But then I just got more stressed. I had more employees to manage that I didn't want to do. He's like, and yeah, our top line revenue grew, but he's like, but I had a lot more expenses now. So my bottom line, it didn't really like change how much I actually took home. So it was like, so I got rid of the coach and I downsized. And he's like, my top line revenue, my gross revenue is less, but my bottom line net revenue is more. So I think the take home from me, again, like I get it. We base a lot of what we do on our past experiences. So for him, he's like, business coaches suck. But in reality, that coach probably did, because he didn't do what's really important, which even in medicine, and this is why I say medicine is very applicable for coaching, because one of the things we should do when we're working with patients that a coach should do with a client is, what are your goals? Versus, I would like to see a doctor say, this is my goal for you. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? That if you were coming in to see me for knee pain and you're like, hey doc, I haven't walked in 5 years. And I was like, all right, Justin, cool. What I'd like to set as a goal for you is to run a marathon. Like, it's like, okay, can we work on walking pain-free first? And then B, I've never even run a day in my life. So why would that be my goal? And that's what that coach did. He's like, here's my goal for you. It's like, that's not my goal. So there's a disconnect. So it's really understanding what are the goals of the individual, and then knowing, all right, what actions do we have to take to hit that goal, right? So even for like you're saying about your mentors, like, hey, we got to eat now, we got to put food on the table. It's like, ultimately, what is the long-term goal, but what has to happen now to actually get us there, because you can't predict what the future is going to be like anyway. So it's having just an understanding of what are we actually looking to achieve in the long run, but what do we need to achieve in the short run, and then what do we actually have to do to make that happen?
Exactly. Okay, that's pretty cool. And so that's basically also like, I guess you just have to interview the business coach and see whether they align.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like I said, they're there to help you, right? And just like, again, a doctor's there to help you. Should be a mutual. We got to be aligned. That's just, I mean, look, that's just people, right? If we're not aligned on the same message, you want to do something different than what I want to do, that's a relationship that's never going to work. And that's just life. So it's really being able to communicate and articulate. And one of the aspects of just being able to ask good questions of not just what do you want to achieve. I mean, everybody might have a revenue goal. A lot of business owners don't. They're like, I just want to grow, and it's to how much?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? So it's therefore, how can you know what you have to do on a consistent basis if you don't actually know what the end goal is? It's like, well, I want to get on the yellow brick road, but not know exactly where it's taking me. It's like, we need to know exactly where we're going, so we know exactly what we need to do.
Exactly. Okay, that's amazing. So right now, you already established your business, and everything has been growing, and it's totally amazing what you're doing. How are you maintaining and building a generational wealth for you and your family? Like, are you like investing outside of your business, or
So I like investing. I also like apparently I like losing money too. You get these shit deals, and it's just it's like, oh my god, how much? Try not to think about how much money I've lost, or communicate that to my wife. But I mean, for me, it's been the way I was doing it, I think, is the way initially a lot of people do, which is, you put your money into, if you're working as a W-2, you got your 401k, which I've learned to hate, only because of how long it takes to utilize it. But I get it that a lot of people don't save, so it's a safe way for most people to do it, especially when you see how much savings people have, which is not much. But so I started out that way, started investing in stocks, and then over time it's been investing in some real estate, then investing into businesses. And then what my goal for right now is, and this is really like the major focus for me at least, is to buy a cash flowing business. And that's what I'm utilizing as a way to not just create, like, it's not like generational wealth, because realistically, for me and my wife, it ends at us too, and that's only because we're not having children. We don't have children. We're not having children.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's not as much as like, what are you doing for generational wealth for you and your family? It's more about, for me now, is like, how do I create a massive pool of money that I can then give away, like donate? Like I got some long-term projects that I want to work on that are dependent upon having some wealth behind it. But right now it's really just about acquiring a business and then growing that business. So when we have that understanding of valuation, we can create a nice big liquidity event when we sell in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my plan.
How are you putting your own money into acquiring the businesses, or are you raising funds?
No, so I think part of it is, to your question, I'm not 100% sure. So
okay.
There's definitely, you can raise money. Raising money is smart, right? So it's really just, what are your goals? I think that's the major thing. If some people like, I want to have 100% ownership of the business, so I'll put all my own money into it, that's fine. Right? That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I know definitely some people will say, well, that's stupid. Why would you put 6 figures worth of your own money when you can get somebody else to do it and then just give them some equity? So for me, I think it's, how do we just do both? How do I maybe bring some people in, but then it's, again, understanding, what does that mean now? Well, now you're responsible for somebody else's money, right? And I think that's an aspect of when people are raising money, really pisses me off that some people take that very lightly. They're like, it's not a big deal. Like, I got a bunch of people who put like $100,000 into it. It's like, then what are you doing to pay those people back? Are you treating this business like it's a legit business? But some people just get into like, okay, like, I think it's more that people want to say they raised money. Like, hey, I was able to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, who cares? What are you doing to actually grow the business to pay those people back their money?
Yeah.
Because it's not a flex. Like, I think some people just look at it like that's a big flex. Like, I'm great at raising money. It's like, that's nothing. Like, there's people who obviously are raising like hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, that's impressive. But those people also understand that that's only impressive if you actually give the money back.
Yeah.
And then you give them a return on that money. Right? That's the major thing. So that's why I'm like, for me, I'm like a little leery, because I'm like, I know A, the responsibilities, but B, I know some people would say, well, that pressure maybe is good, because now it's going to really force you to grow the hell out of the business. Right. So I think it's a little bit for me, both like, I'm good with that pressure, but it's also knowing that, how much control do you want? How much do you want a percentage of it? So I think for me, it's just a little bit of both. It's having money that I can put into it if I can't raise it, but then it's also giving people an opportunity to invest in something that I know can be grown.
Gotcha. Okay. That's
the thing. It's like when kind of almost like sharing the wealth, right? So like when I think about it, like I've thought about that scenario you just laid out. I'm like, I know who I would want to go to give an opportunity to be part of that. Because that's the thing, is like that should be the goal of raising money, is how do I create wealth for other people? Whereas I think a lot of people just look at it as, I just don't want to put any of my own money into it. It's like, that's fine, but like the goal should be, how do I make the investors a shit ton of money?
Yes.
Right? It's like, I want to make them wealthy while I'm building my own wealth. That's really the goal, that I think a lot of people don't view it that way. It's just, I don't want to have any money into it. And if you don't have any, skin in the game, so to speak, right? It's like, you have no financial responsibility. Then what happens if this business goes to shit? It's not really, not hurting you much, but it hurts everybody else. And I just feel like people don't take that fully responsible enough.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very profound thing to say too. Yeah, because I've gone through like those kind of issues as well, being a lender, and that we went through a lot of problems as well. So it opened my eyes. So I just have to make sure and learn from that principle of raising funds, and make sure that the investors get paid, and they can get a return of your money too. And I know previously, before, we've talked about like you went from a W-2 to a 1099 so you can get your 401k and use it as a self-directed.
Yeah.
So that was something I didn't even think about until you mentioned it. And like, what was the steps that you took in order for you to be able to do that, and how were you using that money?
Yeah. The biggest thing is just education. And what I mean by that is, you have to learn these things because we're not taught. Right? So people talk about like the game of money and it's rigged. And there are a lot of advantages that normal people have that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So it is, you kind of look at it like, all right, it's a little like shady, like some bullshit that like institutions are trying to keep people really controlled. So the only way you can do it is by educating yourself, however you want to do that. Reading, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is, going to events. So for me, I've been very fortunate that I have a curiosity mindset, but getting myself in some masterminds where you get that education and you start learning that, hey, you can do this, you can take control, you can invest the money differently, you can access it now versus having to wait till you're basically 60. So education is the key. And then just getting aligned with the right people and knowing, all right, now that I know this, what do I do with it? Because knowledge is only part of it. And I feel a lot of people are just knowledge consumers, right? We're just learning, we're learning. It's like, but what are you doing with that
not
knowledge?
Applying it.
Yeah, there's no application of it. And it's like, you're not doing anything with it. So then who cares that you have the knowledge? What are you actually doing to take that knowledge and turn it into something positive? So that's really it. So like educating, and then just, all right, now that I have it, doing something with the knowledge and creating some action.
Gotcha. And you use that when you converted it, you use it to invest in real estate, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've invested. So I took my 401k. So when I moved from New Jersey, I was still working with the company. I didn't leave them 100%. I was doing some coaching with them. I was like, and then I asked them, take me off, like technically fire me and then hire me as a consultant so I can access this money. But I've been able to invest in a few apartments. I invested some of that 401k money into a rehab project. And then small part of this, and I wouldn't recommend a large part, but I've put some of it in crypto.
Okay.
Enough. It's like a small amount that I'm like, all right, if it bottoms out to nothing, I'm like, it's not going to hurt me. But so it gives you the ability to do that. And honestly, for some people, if they just want to invest in stocks and ETFs, whatever, like you can still do that too. There's a lot of ways to invest that money that you can never do in a traditional 401k. So that's why I'm like, take my money out, do something with it now. And if you can put it into real estate, which is what I did, majority of it, that's where it's like, all right, that situation where you're not maybe getting a lot of cash flow now. It's like, hey, this is going to take 2 years to redo this apartment and get people in. It's like, okay, that's fine if my return is ideally going to be, on average 15-20% a year. You do the math, it's like, okay, if I can double my portfolio every 5 years, like what can that turn into? Then it makes sense.
Exactly. Okay. So you're still are you still in that apartment syndication that you're invested in? Okay. And is there going to be an exit in like 4 or 5 years type thing?
Yeah, I mean, from when I exited, one of them I know right now is looking to do a refinance, cash out refinance. There's and two others. One of them has been struggling a little bit, but is really starting to kind of get his stuff together. It's been like 2 years for most of them. So you're looking on average about like a 3 to 5 year exit. So I'm like, that's going to take 3 to 5 years. And there's this aspect too of knowing what you're getting invested into, which is if it's a great property, maybe like an A or B, right? It's like, all right, we can expect things to come a little bit sooner versus, and this is the aspect of learning. It's like, all right, well, you got yourself invested into a C property, which needs a lot more work, a lot more rehab. It's like, okay, it's going to take a little bit longer. Timeline's going to be there, but you might have a bigger growth because you bought something maybe cheap because it's kind of crappy. And now you made it look really nice. So the value might go up a lot more, but you might not get that cash flow in the interim.
Right. Okay. That's fair. And that's one of the things that we are working on in the pipeline as well, like Class C, but it's catered to workforce housing, and for in a town that in Sherman, Texas, because it's kind of growing and like big companies are moving there.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're looking forward to raise funds for that as well. So that's kind of a good challenge, and I'm looking forward to that one. And for the business buying that you're moving forward to, are you looking into only acquiring like healthcare business or like just in general?
No, I'm looking I have a specific business I'm looking for. Happens to be in healthcare, but I also, it's like real estate, right? It's knowing what's the growth look like.
Yeah.
So versus buying a business that maybe is on the downtrend. I'm not sure what a good business would be, but like just businesses that are like, all right, we're in a downward trend now. Last 5 years it's been going down, and you're buying it and you're saying, oh, it's cash flowing, but you're buying something that's losing. So what I'm looking to buy, which is a medical billing company.
Medical billing, okay.
That there's a huge transition to medical companies outsourcing their billing. So on the back end, the patient goes and sees the doctor. The doctor then obviously they write a bill up for what they did, and then they submit that bill to insurance, and then hopefully they get paid. What we're seeing a lot of now is that doctors are making less because insurance companies they're just deciding we're going to pay you guys less now. And then arbitrarily also deciding that, hey, that treatment that you did, we don't even think it was necessary, so you're actually getting paid zero. Like you're getting completely denied. And that's the trend that we're seeing in healthcare. So being able to, A, build your own team internally is costly and takes a lot of time. And then B, they're spending a lot of time fighting with insurance. So now we're seeing a lot of medical companies, orthopedic practices, and just anybody who owns a healthcare organization, they're saying it's just easier if I outsource it to a company. They can spend all their time. They can, whatever they got to do, they can do. And it's not affecting us here internally. So that's a trend. So that's why it's knowing, all right, how big of a run is there for growth? And that's what's going to be important for any business is what's the growth look like versus just buying something that looks great now, but it's going to be crap in 5 years. Because again, if your goal is to exit, who's going to buy a business on the decline? But we don't really think about that. So that's why I'm looking at that avenues because A, great business to buy from a standpoint of revenue generating, but B, you're actually providing a huge release valve, so to speak, for these other practices where they can then just focus on what they want to do, which is patient care versus, hi, doctor who owns the practice. Now you like taking care of patients, but I need you to get on the phone here and wait 30 minutes for somebody to actually pick up so you can talk to them about why that treatment you did is important. Now you can have somebody else do that.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you are kind of getting the ancillary companies that will help healthcare as well.
Yes.
And what's the method you're gonna go through, like acquiring them? Are you looking mostly like local companies here, or
no? That's the beautiful thing is that it's a national. You can do that anywhere in the country.
Copy that. Okay. And are you guys getting a loan for like SBA loan for it, or you guys kind of like a bootstrap?
Yeah. See, now you mentioned SBA. How do you know about that?
I heard about it first during the COVID times, where businesses, in order for them to be able to survive, they go out and apply for SBA loans. And I've talked to a few people too. There's SBA loans for acquiring apartment complexes, but you have to hire people to be able to work there so you can get it approved.
Yeah.
And I have business acquisition partners as well, and they go out and acquire SBA loans to be able to purchase businesses that they are getting, but they're also raising funds to be able to get the bridge loan, to be able to get the SBA loans to be approved. And it takes about a couple of months for it to approve, and then from there they'll be able to use it as a working capital for that.
Yeah. Now you think about this, right? We were just saying a few minutes back how there's so much financial knowledge out there that we never learn, right? So when you look at like why don't we learn about this with these programs that are built to help us? And that's where like when some people look at the financial system and say it's a rigged bullshit game because the SBA loan program, which a lot like I didn't know about until recently, they earmark every single person. You can get a $5 million loan, and the SBA will pay for 90% of that. Now, there's obviously criteria, right? It's not just like anybody can walk off the street, but it's like, who's ever telling us like, hey, if you want to start or open a business or buy a business, you can have somebody fund 90% of the deal and they'll vet the deal for you. Like, why wouldn't you do that? So that's the route I'm going because number one, I don't want to buy a business that I don't know anything about. I know it's very easy just to say, hey, just buy some, I hate this fucking phrase, but buy a boring business and then just kind of like set it and forget it. And like, it's still a business. People are going to quit. Vendors are going to, it's like, you need to know what you're doing. So for me to even buy like an HVAC company, I'm like, I don't know anything about HVAC.
Right.
And so I'd rather buy A, something that I understand. And then B, this aspect now of just do seller financing, which like I hate because number one is how many businesses are you going to never even take an opportunity to buy because they don't want to do a seller finance? And number two, why the hell would somebody build a business and then just say, sure, I'll take really nothing right now. You just pay, like, how many people are going to really do that? Not many, right? They're going to say, no, I built this shit over the course of 10, 15, 20 years or more. I want to get paid for it. And generally speaking, as somebody at that point, I know the conversation always gears towards, well, what about your taxes? Some people are like, I don't care about that. I just want the money now. Because what if you as the business owner who I'm seller financing this to doesn't know what they're doing? They tank the hell out of it. They run it into the ground or they have to just sell it. What, now I have to bring up my level of stress all over again when maybe I'm at a phase in my life where I'm just trying to take it easy. Right? So, so I'm like, and I had that mentality in the past. I'm like, seller financing is great when you can do it. And there are people out there who will do it. But I'm just like, if you don't know what you're doing in the business, like some people buy businesses and then they look at it and say, I don't actually know how to run a business. So then how do you know you even looked at the numbers correctly? How do you know that person who, it looks like it's cash flowing? How do you know they weren't hiding stuff from you that you're going to find out when you buy it?
Yes.
Right? Or there's expenses that maybe they didn't show.
Yeah.
And you see that in real estate too. It's like, hey, I got 100% or, maybe 95% rental.
Yeah.
And then they didn't tell you, or you didn't find out that, oh shit, all these people on month to month. And as soon as I purchased it,
everybody moved out.
Yeah, like 40% of people moved out. Now you have an occupancy rate of like 55%.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't know that. So SBA is good because if you think about it, they're funding a majority of the deal. Do they want you to buy a shit business or one that's solid and going to work?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they want you to buy the business that's going to work because they need to be paid back.
Yes.
Right. So there's a little bit of a safety net in having somebody in the government actually reviewing the deal to make sure, yes, this is a business you want to buy. So like for me, like that makes so much more sense. Mm-hmm. And if I have to put 10% or 5%, if maybe you can get 5% seller financed, like even if 10% down, it's like you have the ability to buy maybe $1 million business or multi-million-dollar business. And it's like, all right, you do the math. Maybe you're putting more in than you would have if you completely seller finance.
Yeah.
But maybe you're also actually buying a legit business that's really cash flowing that you can just pay yourself, like we talked, and pay the loan, and you're still making an incredible amount of money.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And you say SBA is like 90%, so that for the 10%, you guys are gonna raise it, or you guys?
That's the thing, right? So now you look at it and you say, hey, I only have to raise. I mean, and on a seller finance, right? Most people would say, okay, I'll do a 5% down, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like so, it's basically almost the same, right? So it gives you some flexibility from, do we want to get an investor? And then you're thinking now, all right, how much maybe equity do I want to give them, or what kind of deal structure do I want to put together? Or do you just want to go in and say, I want to do it all myself? I want to put my own money in. So I think, like I said, for us, it's just a matter of like, all right, who's maybe the one or two people that can come in on this that I'd want to help them make some more money.
Yeah.
But not also like reducing, the equity percentage, which look, over time as companies grow and they grow and grow and grow, owners take less. Who the hell is it? I mean, Jeff Bezos owns barely anything of Amazon. Mm-hmm. Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, he owns, I think, like 22% of the company, but it's worth like, I don't know, at this point, like $6 trillion, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, 20% of $6 trillion, not bad. But at the beginning phase, it's like, all right, how can I just get started as quick as possible? So there is this aspect, even for me, of not having the ego come into play of like, I want to own as much as possible. It's like, I want to get a good start.
Yes.
So having just doing the math and knowing where we can go, I think that's part of it, is like how much to bring in and who do we bring in to help us too.
Gotcha. And who, like the question will be who, and then how are you catering and try to like raise from these people that you mentioned, the who's?
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to go to people who obviously have a fundamental understanding of what they're getting into.
Gotcha.
Right. And that's no different than, say, real estate, right? You don't like, that's why I get a little frustrated when people are like, I just raise all this money. It's like, the people that you raise the money from, do they understand what's happening here? Do they understand what the process is going to look like? So we have this aspect in investing, right? Accredited versus non-accredited, which even that's like some bullshit of like, ultimately what they're trying to say is educated versus not really too educated on like the deal. But it's like, even that's silly, because just because you don't have $1 million in assets doesn't mean you don't know anything about investing. But long story short, it's the people that are coming in educated about what's going to happen here. So like, how am I going to get paid back? What happens if you lose money, or what? So that's why when we look at bringing people in, it's just making sure that they know what's going to happen. They can financially tolerate it, right? So what I mean by that is, if you lose, which is not to say we're creating a business here for you to lose money, but if things go awry, like the market changes, right? It's just, it's like somebody who invested into real estate during COVID, and they're like, these interest rates are going to stay really low forever. And then all of a sudden, like, oh shit, we're trying to refinance. But now the interest rates are probably more than double. Yeah, more than double than what we got into. So what do we do now? How do we handle that situation? So it's being able to also bring in people who they can handle some level of risk. There's always risk. Yeah. Some level of risk. And then just making sure that when they're coming into it, they know, again, what's the what's the goal, but more importantly, how are you going to get to the goal?
Good goal, yeah. And how are you? Is it like kind of like a set avatar that you guys are nurturing and you're reaching out? Like, is there like a method that you guys reach out to these individuals?
No, because I mean, like I said, we don't. For myself, when we talked about the investment mentality you asked me about, generational wealth.
Yeah.
More often than not, stocks and traditional investing, they're not going to build you wealth real quick, right? It's a long game. Fortunately, I've made some good investments. So I've been able to, if I have this goal in mind, also kind of stockpile some reserves.
Gotcha.
So if I can't raise, or for whatever reason, maybe I don't want to raise, I have this available to me. But when we look at different investment opportunities, outside of people who say, hey, look, I have a self-directed account, I can invest that. There's other people who might have a whole life insurance policy.
Oh, like a internet banking?
Yeah, like, you see that in some real estate, right? It's like, open up this specific insurance policy for yourself that gives you interest.
Yeah. And
that you can take out tax-free. It's like, all right, who has that money? A lot of people have those plans and they don't even
know that.
It's like, how much money do you have in your account? They're like, I don't know. How long have you had the account for? 10 plus years. Like, probably have like potentially like 6 figures of money sitting there, literally doing nothing. So it's being able to also leverage opportunities like that, because in reality, again, if theoretically somebody had $100,000 in an insurance policy, that cash value, and they've done nothing with it for 10 years, should that really matter if it gets lost? Now, you might say, well, yeah, like, it's $100,000, it should matter. But if it's money that's just sitting there they're doing nothing with, there's this aspect of losing money that, hey, if I lost it, not ideal, but it wouldn't change my life.
Right.
Like, nothing would be affected. And that's like risk tolerance. If I lose $100,000, but everything in my life stays the same in terms of paying my bills, paying my mortgage, my car, I don't have to sell my house, we don't have to downsize, we don't have to start eating cans of food every night. Okay, that's a risk that I can take. All right, so you got to factor those things in versus just, hey, I'm going to talk to anybody who has money. Or, hey, you have a 401k, take a loan out against your 401k and you can borrow like 50 grand on that. It's like, that's silly. That's a silly way to raise money, because you're actually putting people who really don't have much risk tolerance. Like, they shouldn't risk much. You're actually making them risk more than they should, because you're probably making some promises to them that ultimately you can't fully deliver on, because again, you don't know what the future brings, right? Even if you say 95% certain this product or this company or this apartment building is going to make money, again, it's not 100%. You technically don't know. Things can change. It's like, I got to make sure if things go wrong, the market does change, or if this doesn't pan out, how does that affect the people who are giving me the money?
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. And then it's something like, it goes back to what you mentioned, like education, like nurturing as well as educating them, like on like the little terms that you can come through for. And I guess it's also like, I heard, like, you build the audience and the connection that you have, your network, and they will be able to know who you are, and they will do business with people that they don't like and trust, basically. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do as well, just to raise funds and to nurture the prospects and tell them what's this, give them the education, and sharing with them the podcast as well. So these are the things that I'm kind of doing right now to raise funds. And you guys are probably also doing that, nurturing, educating. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned a key word there, which is trust.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a word that I think a lot of people don't take into account as much. They just, and when we look at how do you build trust, right? Outside of, all right, we want to build some rapport and get to know each other, and I want to make sure you're a good person who's not doing this for yourself and not to help everybody else. But then a huge part of trust also is really credibility.
Yeah.
Right. So it's what's your track record?
Yes.
So how can I trust you as a person, but how can I trust you as an investor giving you money when maybe you've never done this?
Yes.
Or you've never either done this before, or you've done it before, but you haven't really been successful with it. And those are mistakes I made in the past with investing. I'm like, I didn't look into the person's credibility enough.
Same here.
I look at maybe, all right, we have an experienced team. Experience doesn't mean shit if your experience is I've consistently lost.
Yes.
Right. So like, I look at some of my patterns of investing and losing money, and I've had to question myself sometimes. I'm like, do I know what I'm actually doing? because I've made some pretty big mistakes, but then there's the aspect of mistakes, but then how big are your wins? So it's like, all right, my wins have been massive, probably a little bit less than I'd like, but some massive wins to trump all the losses. So it's like, all right, but you start looking at the credibility and experience again. It's like, if I have a track record of losing, well, then you don't have the credibility. So how can I trust you?
Yes.
So therefore, why would I want to give you my money?
Yeah.
So that's just an important thing that people, when they're looking to build relationships, and certainly when they're looking to raise money, they have to understand the credibility and the trust that people should be looking to them. And if people don't have questions for them, it's just, here's my money. It's like, let's slow this down.
Yeah.
And let's just make sure, like, here's the questions maybe you should ask that you don't know, because there is an aspect of, again, we don't know what we don't know, right? So I didn't even know what questions to ask. So it's like, let me help you out here. And there's this aspect in raising money that doesn't happen enough, which is education, right? So maybe I gave a little bit education at the beginning, but then once I got your money, that was it. We didn't really communicate.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help build trust. If anything, it should be, how do we set up a pipeline of communication where I'm giving you updates, I'm letting you know what's going on, I'm keeping you kind of abreast of the situation.
In the loop. Yeah,
and that's where you don't see enough.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's actually, I resonate in that too, because that's one of the things I didn't know about until my mentor was saying, like, yeah, you need to, when we go to closing, you still have to keep telling them what's going on, setting like bulletins and stuff like that, like updates. So, and that's pretty good. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to do that as well, on a business buying, or even your coaching in healthcare, everything that you just have to keep building that and nurturing that even after you already passed the closing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I mentioned in the beginning, I take a lot what I did in healthcare, and it's very applicable. Even in that situation, when I started looking back at what made me successful in that role that I was in, the communication was a huge part of it, which is I would see a patient for the first time and I would let them know what's going on, but then I would help them. I paint a picture of, like, here's what should happen, but if that doesn't happen, here's how we're going to change the plan of action. But then once I started treating patients, because as a physical therapist, I would see them for, usually multiple times over the course of a few weeks. It wasn't just a one appointment and then come back in 8-week kind of situation.
Yeah.
I had to also, okay, here's what's happening to you now. Here's how it's going to change our plan in the future. Like, I kind of almost have to, like, dangle a carrot, right? It's like, what's going to keep people motivated and what's going to keep them from doing what we all typically do, which is start thinking negative things, which is, all right, I haven't heard from this person. So does that mean they just took my money and ran away? Does that mean the deal's going sideways and the deal is being really shitty and they don't want to tell me that? Just like in healthcare, it'd be like, all right, my doctor hasn't really communicated to me, or my therapist or my chiropractor or whatever it is. They don't really tell me what's going on with me anymore. Like, am I progressing? Am I not progressing? And if I'm getting better, how much more treatment do I need?
Yes.
Right? So it's a question. And if they're not telling me these things, why? What are they hiding from me? So that's just the way our brain works. We go to negative thinking.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I'm like, I want to get ahead of that. And I want to help them understand, like, this is what's next. This is what's happening now. This is what your game plan looks like. This is what's changing. And maybe I told you 6 weeks, but I think we can do it in 4. Or I told you 6 weeks, I think it's going to take 8, but this is why. So it's just making sure that I'm communicating to people in the way, yes, I want to be talked to. Like, I want to know what's going on too.
Yeah.
But that's just human psychology. We don't want to be left in the dark.
Yeah.
We want to know that when we've made an investment of any kind, time, energy, money, that it wasn't wasted.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to set the expectation too early on. Make sure that you're communicating correctly, everything's good, and just even if it's bad, you just have to tell them. Just at least keep them abreast, keep them up to date as well.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like, even expectations. I think some people they don't have any. Maybe it's somebody who's on the investor side. Like, I just expect to make money, but how much? What time? And again, even, all right, if I give you, 100% return, if you invest maybe $100,000 in this business or in this apartment, and in 4 years you get $200,000 back to you. A lot of people just be like, that's cool, great, yeah, that sounds good. But in the meantime, though, again, in that 4 years, like, I haven't heard anything. So now I'm getting a little anxious. Now I'm wondering, and it's like, okay, thank God, it's a relief, but you want to also somewhat enjoy maybe not enjoy the process, but you want to have a positive experience with it. So that's just where, for, again, human psychology, we always gravitate towards the worst case scenario. So how do you keep people from thinking the worst and they should be thinking the best? And from a standpoint of being able to get more investors, again, they're going to look at their experience.
Exactly.
Right? So if
like
it's
credibility.
Yeah, right. Like, so you gave me money and your experience wasn't that great because you didn't have any education. Nobody was talking to you. Nobody's giving you updates. But then I gave you money. Hey, you want to do that again? You're probably like, no, I don't. That was actually like 4 years of like wondering if I lost $100,000. Or you want to refer me anybody else who'd want to invest with me? It's like, no, why would I do that? So I can create anxiety for them. And now they're coming to me wondering, did you did you refer me to somebody who just stole my money? So it's just really a matter of keeping people engaged so they can just be focused on progress and not stuck on that initial shit, should I have done this?
Yes, exactly. Wow. Okay, that's amazing. That's profound. Like, thank you so much again for all that. It's like a lot of things like kind of resonate, but also there are a few things that you mentioned that's kind of profound as well. And so like in closing, like how can people like reach out to you and how people can provide value to you? I know you're looking to grow your business as well, acquiring businesses. Like what is something that the audience will can reach out to you or lead with value and what you're looking for?
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing, so when we look at value, right, it's always a matter of how can we help other people, right? Because that's the value that we have in relationship building. There is this aspect, a lot of people view building connections and building relationships, they view it as very transactional, right? So I'm going to connect with you if I know I can get something from you. And that's why that's kind of a part of networking events that I still hate sometimes. A lot of people go and it's just, what can I get from people?
Yeah.
That's not relationship building, right? Relationship building is, what can I do to help you out? So from the standpoint of, it's like, how can people help? The biggest thing that I've gravitated towards is just not being afraid to ask people, who do you know that could use my help, right? And we have a hesitancy a lot of times of just asking people for help and asking people maybe they know some resources that could benefit. And like usually that's been a big hindrance for me. It's like, I don't want to inconvenience people. You don't want like, they got their own things going on. So it's like, but then it's all right, maybe they know somebody, like, yeah, my friend or my family or a colleague of mine, they're struggling. They need somebody like you. But we just anticipate, I think, people to be very aware of who's in their life that can need help, but we're all just kind of focused on ourselves. And it doesn't make us selfish, but it's just a very human nature thing that I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to keep my family and those people's survival mode. And I'm not like thinking about everybody else in my life. And then you ask them, hey, who could benefit from my help? And all of a sudden they're like, you know what, this person can help you.
Yeah.
And that's something that I saw in healthcare. Like one of the interesting things in medicine is asking for reviews. Most of us are terrible at that. Or asking for referrals. Now, in healthcare, you can't pay people for, it's like, there's a lot of regulations like, all right, that's illegal. But there's nothing wrong with asking a patient, who do you know that could benefit from what I was able to do with you? Right? But a lot of medical providers are like, oh, I don't like doing that. In reality, though, that principle is kind of where I'm at now. It's like, all right, I did it then. And a lot of times the patients would never approach me and say, hey, here's a situation going on with my mom or my son or whatever it is. They would have to be prompted. So the problem was, who else could benefit the way you have? And then they'd be like, ooh, this person has been having pain. This person, like, and then they rattle off like 2 or 3 people. It's like, all right, how can I help them? Because in reality, that's what we're trying to do, is provide help.
Yes.
And when we provide value and support and help, that actually is going to lead to more business.
Yes.
Right. So when we look at how people can bring value, it's just, look, if anybody is in a situation where you're either trying to grow a business, because again, it's not all just about healthcare, but you want to optimize your business or you're struggling to grow it, the biggest thing is just, for me, it's like, how can I help you? Or what are your goals? And maybe you're doing really well in business, but it's, all right, we've plateaued, we've stagnated. How do we get maybe to that, maybe not next level? So if it's like, I'm making 3 million, all right, maybe the next level few isn't 30, but it's like, how do I get to 4 million? It's like
baby steps.
How do I just consistently grow? Because now we're stuck. So in terms of like just reaching out to me, it's easy enough, like social media, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm like pretty much on every platform. go to a website. I'll give you guys the links and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Website, but then it's just a matter of maybe who's in your space that could benefit. Again, a lot of us get into business and we don't fully know. And one of the challenges in healthcare is you have people who are, it's hard enough to be a doctor. All right. So I got to be a great doctor, but then I have to be a great entrepreneur too. And it's hard to do both. And in medicine, one of the bigger challenges is that we don't get any business training. There's like zero.
Yeah.
So there's this aspect in healthcare where it's open your own practice, be independent. But how the hell am I supposed to do that when you didn't teach me any of that? You didn't teach me. I mean, even for me, when I was in school, we had a business course. It's a joke. Like we learned nothing. And I'm like, but now I'm graduating and I'm supposed to open my own practice. Like you taught me nothing about it. So there are these individuals that they're running practices or they wanna, and they don't know exactly what to do or how to overcome challenges like we spoke about with healthcare insurance.
Yeah.
So I'd say if anybody's like looking to like just make their business better, make it more efficient, look for ways to improve it. Reach out. If you're struggling or you're like, I'm just looking into buying something or starting something, but I don't know exactly what to do. So it's really all aspects of the business phase. And it's just knowing, all right, what phase of business am I in? Am I like kind of like an infant, toddler? Am I in that like a teenage growing phase? And then being able to put together a roadmap is really what's going to be key, is like just understanding again, like what do you want to accomplish? What are your goals? What are your outcomes? And then being able to put together a coherent plan of like how to get there while still addressing things in the present that need to improve as well.
Okay. And that's kind of like what you can provide for the medical profession that come and reach out to you.
Yeah.
And so for any of the social platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very active. So I'm all over Instagram. TikTok's a little bit newer for me, but I've been getting there. LinkedIn, I got a ton of stuff.
You guys also have a podcast.
I was gonna say we have the podcast, All Things LOCS, LOCS, not LOX. It's not a bagel, it's not a Jewish deli podcast. It's All Things LOCS, which is leadership, operations, culture, and strategies for growth.
Okay.
So it's really all about a lot of stuff that we talked about. Is just how to just be a leader and grow and manage people the right way. So the podcast, we love, been doing that since November.
Nice.
Had some awesome guests on it, and we. The way we constructed the podcast too is the same principles that myself and Antonio, my partner, have as growing, which is being able to take knowledge from different fields. And that's, instead of just, all right, well, you're in healthcare, so learn from healthcare professionals. Well, they all have like very much the same viewpoint. So you're learning the exact same stuff versus if I can talk to somebody who's in real estate, or I can talk to somebody who is in construction or is an engineer or is in the AI space. They're going to look at things very differently. And they apply principles differently that I've always loved, that I can kind of borrow from them and say, all right, this actually would work really well in my own field. And I mentioned about the business I was in New Jersey that we grew a lot. One of the key principles we learned there was customer service, but it was the customer service the Ritz-Carlton way. And that was my CEO and my mentor at that point. He was like, their customer service is the best. And we're going to take that principle and apply it to what we're doing in medicine. I was like, that is amazing. Like So it's being able to just pull from different industries and take their best practices, so to speak, and apply it to what we're doing. And that's really what the podcast covers. Is like, it's not just all healthcare individuals. It's people from all over. Take from them what's working and apply it to your business.
Okay. And awesome. And then what's the name of the podcast again? So
All Things LOCS.
All Things LOCS. LOCS.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much again today, Dr. Dan. Appreciate your time, and it was kind of very profound and everything. It's just amazing. Like,
this is great.
Amazing knowledge they have and their education and all the tidbits and everything. So I truly appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And that's the show. Appreciate it so much. Thank you.
All right, take care.